Okay, the records are now open. All right. So Derek, I was already picking up on your energy even before the reading, but so I already know where you're from. But so you're a star seed. I mean, I think that's pretty obvious. You were born in 1983. I would say the majority of star seeds started incarnating on planet Earth, I think, after World War II. And Dolores Cannon breaks it up into 3 waves of volunteers, or 3 generations of star seeds. I'm of the first wave volunteer group, so I'm kind of tail end of first wave. You're definitely second wave, which means that you're kind of what they call the true indigo children. So you're coming in with a little bit more of a rebellious energy, a little bit more kind of system buster oriented. Okay. And maybe that's why you worked in the scientific field for a while, because you had to understand the system before you changed it. Okay. I think a lot of us have gone through that, as star seeds, but I do pick up Arcturus as your star system of origin. Okay. So when I connected with you, I was like, oh my gosh, he's a star brother. I already knew it. Already knew it. It's like, oh, that's a star brother. So maybe there's a reason why you were attracted to, or wanted to have me on your show. But you had a lot of incarnations in Sirius. Okay. So I'll explain what Arcturus is about and why that's so significant. And then I'll explain some of your alternate incarnations. So as Arcturian beings, because we're so so high dimensional, so non-physical, in order for us to do our work, sometimes we'd have to incarnate in other systems in order to be of assistance to those systems. So looking at your star origins, Arcturus is a star in the constellation of Bodes, which is actually located not far from Draco and also from Lyra. And so if you were here and you were looking at my star map, you would see it right there, and kind of towards the center of the star map there. But it's actually one of the biggest stars, I think they say, or one of the brightest stars. I think it's like the 4th brightest star in our night sky. So it's a big star system. It's huge. It's a huge star. The reason why it's so significant is because there was an alternate consciousness that was assigned to it. So you and I, we're part of the Arcturus soul family. We're kind of separate consciousness from the Lyra Vega soul group. The majority of star seeds come from the Lyra Vega soul group. We have exceptions, so there's the Andromeda group and there's, some other groups, but Arcturus, we were kind of set aside to be the spiritual guides and teachers and healers of the galaxy. But we're also very technical. Okay. So we're kind of one of those rare soul groups that I think we have abilities in many different areas. Our left brain and our right brain are very well meshed with each other. And we've received, I think, cross training in our star systems of origin in many different capacities, so we were trained in technology. We were trained as, spiritual guides for souls that were passing through the Stargate. So Arcturus is also a Stargate. It processes souls after death and before incarnations. So this is why Arcturians have access to the Akashic records, and they're considered to be the keepers of the Akashic records. So as far as your particular story, I do think you're associated with the planet called Pitola. Okay, that's one of the planets in the Arcturus system. That's Pitolla, Pitola. And I would say you started off very similarly to me, where you were cross-trained. But I'm seeing in your records that you did a lot of work on, particularly with biological sciences, is what I'm seeing. which was kind of interesting. It was almost like you were preparing for something, okay? Like you were preparing for your ultimate missions in assisting other star people. But you also did some technological work. So I think you were helping to create shielding systems with the Arcturus Stargate. A lot of people don't know this, but Arcturus was also attacked by Draco because they wanted to take over the Stargate.
Okay.
And unfortunately for Draco, we were prepared. Okay, so we had our technology game on. We were prepared for them, so we were able to fight them off very successfully. But it was a rough time while it was happening. So it wasn't an easy. It wasn't like, oh yeah, it was one battle, boom, it was over. Kind of took a while, but we managed to survive that and maintain the Stargate. But so there were shielding systems that were created around Stargates, and you were involved with that. The other thing I'm seeing is that you were cross-trained with processing people through the Stargate, this Stargate of Souls. You also did some healing work in Pitola. So Pitola had a lot of these crystal healing temples that had, crystal pods where we would place souls. So it was heal souls through frequency. So you did some technological work with that. So by the time you left Arcturus, you were very well trained. Okay. And pretty much what I'm seeing is that with most Arcturian starseeds, we have overlays of energy from other systems, because it doesn't do us any good to just be sitting in the ivory tower of Arcturus, because how are we going to be of service otherwise? So we had to incarnate in these other systems. I see a very I think deep connection with you and Sirius, particularly Sirius A. Okay. So you have some, I would say Sirius, and I would see also, I see some lifetimes in Orion. Okay. A lot of us Arcturians did a lot of work in Orion. So it's not uncommon to see Arcturians that have also an Orion connection. To get to Sirius A, we're going to kind of fall back on that. When you, I think, incarnated in Sirius A, Sirius was just starting to get colonized. So it was one of those places that was colonized by Vega and Lyran refugees after the Lyran Wars. So the survivors ended up colonizing, the planets of Sirius A. And I think ultimately also Sirius B and Sirius C. But so you incarnated there as an Arcturian soul in order to help assist the Sirian people in establishing higher level technology. Okay. At first, it was kind of very technical, kind of more engineering based, but then I think ultimately you got very interested in the Syrian mystery schools, and you became enmeshed with the Syrian mystery schools. So you went through them, and then you also taught at the Syrian mystery schools. It was kind of like some sort of chemical, biological, topics, I guess. I think you fall back on I think science because it's familiar for you. So whenever you have an incarnation, you fall back on science because you're good at it, but I don't get that it's your great love. I think you do it because it's it's a skill that's always needed, and you usually get paid well, so you usually get paid well through scientific work. You don't get paid well being a spiritualist, but I would say most Arcturian starseeds, we really are very creative also, so we're not all tech heads, many of us have skills in the arts and music, and we love it when we can integrate both, when we can integrate the spirituality with the science, when we can integrate the creativity with, the analytical thinking, so that's kind of the special part about being an Arcturian starseed, is that we're very multi-talented that way. I wouldn't be surprised if you told me like, yeah, I like to play the guitar on my time off, or I sing, or or I paint, or draw cartoons or something, so so many of us have those skills too. As far as your Orion incarnations, I think you were drawn to working with Orion because Orion was located very close to Sirius. So whenever you see the Orion belt stars in the night sky, Sirius is always kind of there. So here's the Orion belt stars, here's Sirius. And you can't miss Sirius because it is the brightest star in our night sky. It's comprised of 3 stars, so that's part of what makes it bright. And it also is located only 8 light years from Earth, so it's pretty close. And Sirius was also considered to be our spiritual sun for a while. It was very connected to Earth, so you see a lot of correlations between ancient civilizations and Sirius, or ancient civilizations and Orion. Ancient civilizations and the Pleiades, for instance, because they all had, some involvement with the development of civilization on Earth. But I think Orion became of interest to you because the Orion people were struggling. And, they were in constant wars and conflicts. And I think as a soul, you wanted to be of assistance to them, so whatever you could do to help them, that's what you were about. And I'm seeing you were based out of Minnetonka, which is actually the same area I was based out of when I was in Orion. There's a relationship between Minnetonka, which is one of the belt stars in Orion, and Arcturus. So they're kind of like our sister star. Okay, so so there was a lot of Arcturians that when they were assisting Orion, they mainly stayed within the Minnetonka system. And Minnetonka was probably the highest vibrational star system in the Orion constellation. Orion is huge. It's a huge constellation. It's got many different stars. Even in the sky, when you look at Orion, it's like, oh my God, it takes up like half the sky. You're like, oh my God, it's like, where's all the other, places, but yeah, you kind so I think, so Orion kind of had a situation that was very similar to Star Wars. You mentioned Star Wars before, but I would say the true Star Wars happened in Orion. I actually think Star Wars is actually the story of the Orion Wars, because Orion was under duality consciousness. They were fighting all the time. It was such a big star system. There was a lot of diversity of beings, and they had a lot of negative beings that lived in Orion, and as well as benevolent beings. And so it was a kind of a hodgepodge of different things going on, and they were always in conflict. And so they had like an empire situation, and they had the resistance fighters, so it's all very Star Wars like. But I think the work that you were doing there was you were trying to support these resistance fighters to some capacity. Not that you were actively fighting, I don't see that. I see more that you were assisting them with maybe some scientific or technological assistance that they needed, because Orion didn't have the resources that the other star systems had. They were always kind of lacking in resources because they were lower dimensional. It's kind of like here on Earth, where when you're lower dimensional, it takes a process, to create or manifest things. And that's pretty much what happened in Orion as well. And we deal with this even here on Earth, where it takes a process to go through to manifest things that we need. When we're in the higher dimensions, we just think of something and it manifests just like that. Can't wait till we get to those days. Oh my God. Like, let me manifest a Jaguar, okay, or Ferrari. Okay, there we go. Not that we would use our powers for that, but it might be fun. I don't know. But so I think kind of to speed this up a little bit, I'm not going to go into your Earth lives. Although you do have an Atlantis connection, I do see, I don't know if you felt that about yourself, but I do see definitely a connection with Atlantis and probably Egypt. Okay, you probably had, I would say the majority of us star seeds have probably have a connection with either Lemuria, Atlantis, or Egypt. I see that a lot, when I do these readings. But going to your mission is the ultimate Arcturus mission. Okay. So Arcturians, we're masters of combining spirituality with technology and science. And that's basically your mission. Okay. So you're doing it with this podcast, you're doing it through the other work that you're doing, but you're trying to bring together these two very separate concepts, which are considered to be separate here on Earth, but are actually very well, in other systems, they're very integrated. And so that's been ultimately, I would say, your mission here on Earth is to bring the science along with the spirituality. So then it becomes more well integrated, where people can accept it, because we kind of live in a society right now where a lot of people are just, if they don't have the facts, they don't believe it,
Yeah.
It's kind of like, oh, it's got to be concrete, it's got to be in front of my face, they don't want to use their faith in believing something. And it's not that we don't have faith as Arcturian starseeds, but we do want to bring in that science so it collaborates the spirituality. Okay, so I think that's your predominant mission. Does this resonate with you? Does any of this stuff resonate?
Yeah, it's already what I'm doing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And the Atlantean connection with where you were talking about on Arcturus with the crystal healing temples.
Yeah, crystal healing temples.
That was my sense of maybe what I was doing in Atlantis.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, totally. Yeah, you did that technology in Arcturus, and then you just brought it to Atlantis. So,
yeah, I've always loved gems and crystals here on Earth too. So,
yeah, I see a few of them on your shelves there. So
yeah, they're all over.
I have a few too, but you can't see them. But I have a whole bunch of them. So that's pretty much, I think, what I'll get into as far as, unless you have a question, I guess I'll open it up to questions, and then we'll kind of wrap it up.
Yeah, that was amazing. That's super cool.
We do a closing prayer just to shut down the records, and
Sure.
Then we'll go on to the rest of the interview.
Okay, perfect.
So anyway, I would like to thank the masters, teachers, and loved ones for their love and compassion. I would like to thank the Lords of the Akashic Records for their point of view, and I would like to thank the Holy Spirit of Light for all knowledge and healing. The records are not closed. Amen. The records are not closed. Amen. The records are not closed. Amen. Your energy goes with you. My energy stays with me. Okay, so I don't know what you thought about all that, but it was fun looking at your records. Your story is kind of similar to mine, at least it was in the beginning, where we kind of went through similar training in Arcturus. So
cool.
I thought that was really cool.
Yeah. And I was just noticing, how you're just yourself. You're not in really an altered state of consciousness, it seems, when you're reading the records.
No, I get downloads, but it's not like I'm in trance or anything like that, if that's what you mean. Yeah, it's like I'm having a conversation with you.
And are you seeing visual images, or what are the downloads like for you?
Yeah, it's kind of a multi-layered experience. So so a lot of times I'll see like a movie being played out, just like I'm accessing your Akashic movie from Netflix or something, so similar to that. So that's why we use your name and birth date. So it's kind of like that. But I'm also, I get your guides will speak to me. They'll tell me things, or the Akashic guides will tell me things, or sometimes I'll get music or smells or emotions that are associated. So it's kind of a multi-layered. So that's why doing Akashic readings can be very exhausting. It's why I can only do 2 a day. I used to do like 5 a day, and I would just get so exhausted. And now I don't put myself through that. I don't want to put my clients through that either. So
Yeah.
I want to give them the best of me. So so I just limit it to 2 a day. But it can be a very kind of overwhelming experience. When you're in the records, because the information is so vast.
Gotcha. I know that some types of healing can rejuvenate the healer, but you're saying this is more of a depleting activity.
It could be both, actually. It is depleting in the sense that it takes a lot of energy to, download the records. But I always get really excited when I do Akashic readings, and, because I'm sharing, the journey with my client, and I get to see, their soul memories, and I get to share, in, their aha moments, so it's also kind of rejuvenating in a way too.
Okay, cool. Do you do anything, because it's energy intensive, do you anything like to stay, quote, in shape for that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Self-care is the ultimate importance to me. I went through a period where I was very unhealthy for I'll say for like 20 years, my health just deteriorated. And I think it got worse when I was trying to um, live life as an Akashic reader, but also as an environmental health specialist. So it got really bad during that time. I came down with breast cancer, and I had some other comorbidities that developed. So I knew if I was going to continue this journey that I had to be healthy. That it was of ultimate importance for me to be in good health. Not only I think to maintain my own energy, but also I think to be kind of a 5th dimensional prototype, for the new human, the human that is going to be have upgraded DNA, that's going to be able to transcend the limitations of our 3D reality here. So I went on a very transformative health journey during the last 2 years, starting in 2020. And I did lose almost 80 pounds
Oh, wow.
during that time, which so I don't look the same as I did even 2 years ago. I don't even feel like I'm the same person, but other than the fact that I still do Akashic readings and stuff, but my personality, I think, changed a little bit. I think I probably just more stepped into who I truly am, because I was starting to take better care of myself. But it was also a very mental journey. It was healing from an emotional standpoint, in addition to physical, and also mental and spiritual, so it was just a combination thereof. But I appreciate, you asking me that question, because it kind of honors my journey, and I appreciate, your attention to it, because it was quite a journey. I'm just happy to be here and happy to be of service,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. 80 pounds is sort of outwardly dramatic, for sure.
Yeah, that was very dramatic. Yeah, it is. You are not the same person after you lose that much weight. And and people have told me too that I reversed aged. So I think when I was heavier, I looked older. And maybe because I had a lot of inflammation in my body, and and I had some comorbidities that I had to deal with. But now I don't know. I don't feel like I look my age, and I'm not trying to pat myself on the back or anything, but I feel like this is all stuff that we all can do. All of us can take care of ourselves, and we can become the best versions of ourselves. just through doing, I would say, a lot of self-care. So I do follow a pretty clean diet. Not that I'm perfect at it. I mean, I'm human. Sometimes I do like to eat that cookie or, whatever, but for the most part, I eat, I would say mostly a plant-based diet. And I do exercise quite a bit, and I meditate. I have a yoga practice. And, I try to do all the right things, just to keep myself healthy.
So is there any one thing that you think was the biggest factor in sort of shifting things for you?
I would say the mental.
Mm.
Yeah. Well, let me take that back. I would say it was mental, but also combined with diet. I think diet is a huge factor. Uh, Diet and exercise, that was huge. But also, I don't think you can make permanent change until you heal the, I would say, the inner trauma, or the inner wounds that maybe came from your childhood or came from maybe some past life stuff. So I did a lot of alternative healing in addition to, the more physical, components of diet and exercise. Which I did EMDR, so that's a method of reprogramming yourself. I went through theta healing, I did Reiki, I did QHHT. So I did a number of alternative healing practices in addition to like diet.
Yeah. So yeah, just you hitting it from many angles.
Yeah, no, I was just,
sure.
I was, I kind of felt like, how can I be a spiritual, teacher or a spiritual leader if I'm not walking the path myself, so I felt like I needed to be an example.
Yeah, well, great example. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Hey friend, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this particular clip, then I have something else I want to tell you about, which is the League of Superconductors. It's a business mastermind that I run to elevate the greatest change makers of our time. That is people that I like to call quantum entrepreneurs, metaphysical, spiritual teachers, healers, coaches, light workers of different types. And this is a year-long business mastermind starting in May of 2022. So if that's the type of thing that you're looking for, if you're looking to better fuel your mission by having a business that brings in all the abundance you're looking for, that both operates at the 3D level, serving the people of Earth, and at a multi-dimensional level, bringing in all of the higher wisdom and experience that you have access to, that's what we're doing. So if that sounds like something for you, then you can check out the link below, read a little bit more about the program, what we do each month. And I also invite you to apply for a call with me, a strategy session. We can get to know each other. I'll coach you a little bit, and you can decide if that might be the exact thing that you've been looking for. All right, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.